switch gears at this point and focus on Crew Orange County, since I've got the absolute pleasure of having three of the nicest people, one current president and two ex-presidents of Crew Orange County joining us today. So Nicole, as being the current president, we're going to start with you. So could you tell us about Crew Orange County, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Crew Orange County stands for Commercial Real Estate Women. And our focus, of course, is on the Orange County chapter, on women in commercial real estate in Orange County, our allies, the men that support us and support our advancement, and also on bringing up a new group of emerging leaders and college graduates and college students who are all looking to get into the field of commercial real estate. So what we do really focuses around mentorship, it focuses around networking. We do offer scholarships as this Crew network. And we're really focused on, like I said, building this network, a tribe, or we call it, of course, your crew, of women and men who support each other and where we're headed. We also talk about current events. We make sure that our group includes expert panelists who then we can recommend to other conferences like CLIC, where we can really show what depth and breadth of expertise we have within our members.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Well, let's kick this around a little bit. I'd like to get everybody's opinion. And Linda, let's start with you. The impact of mentorships, okay, especially with Gen Y, Gen Z, the millennials, and I've got three partners that are all millennials. My producer, Danny, is a millennial, and she's one of the neatest people on the planet. She cares. I think the millennials get a really bad rap all the time. And some millennials like to say boomers like me are psychopaths, and I think that's not right either. But, you know, I think this is our future. It's the millennials. It's the Gen Z, the Gen Y. So, Linda, could you start with that and, you know, tell us about some of the mentorships, and let's go to Stacy and end with Nicole on that, please.
Well, I would even say that Crew OC has connections that are God-driven, I guess, and what I mean by that is you meet these people and they introduce you to these other people, and it has no boundaries. There's such a wealth of knowledge and no boundaries. And you have these people who would like to lift you up. So as a young person, you can meet with CEOs and they answer your call. You don't have to be on hold. They'll answer you. You say, I'm part of Crew Orange County, and they pick up your calls. Or you say, I know so-and-so from Crew Orange County. Oh yeah, I need to talk to you. So I had one gal, Isabella Zellinger. She was a Chapman student and called me and wanted to meet with me. So then I introduced her to all my Crew connections. And since then, she's done very well. And I feel really happy about that. But what I love is that any young person that comes to us, we have such a wealth of talent. We have retail, hospitality, office, multifamily, accountants, architects, construction people, lawyers, you know, you name it. Our emerging leaders can be connected to all these people, which is amazing. And then it's unheard of that they just open their doors for you. Usually they're very busy people, but you say you're part of Crew, everybody wants to help you because Crew has a reputation of being a place where we're going to, you know, make sure we build each other up. If you're a part of our membership, and even if you're not, we believe in uplifting and supporting women and men in whatever career they choose. So that's kind of my take on, you know, what a benefit it is for all the young people out there to be part of it.
Absolutely. And, you know, high tide raises all boats. So, and you know, that's very apparent throughout Crew, not only here in Orange County, but nationally and internationally as well. Stacy?
I'm going to dive deeper a little bit. I'm involved, as everybody here is, in a variety of different organizations. And I'm just going to highlight the fact that Crew specializes in all facets of commercial real estate. So we encompass everything. It's probably the only organization that does that, which is so special. And with that, the outreach that we have with all these other organizations and universities is just, it's great. I mean, who else has another network that they can reach out to over 12,000 people in the same organization and have that ability to do deals, to meet new people? It's the type of organization for wherever you go. Let's say you're at another conference. Let's say you're at a CLIC conference. Chances are there's going to be probably 10 to 15 other crew members there. So you already have that friendly face that you can actually introduce people to, do deals with. It's just fantastic. But the biggest thing for me, I would highlight on the mentorship side is I have a special story. I think mine is one of those success stories from being a mentor with my mentee. She now is my employee. You know, it goes full cycle. You know, you take these people under your wings. And I get so frustrated when people say Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen X. It's like, I feel like we're all the same. You can't lump somebody into a category based on their age. It's their drive, it's their mission, it's their goals in life, and how they act as a person. And you know, when I mentored, Dana was my mentee for about 2.5 years through Crew. We got paired up because we both had the marketing mindset and we were both in marketing roles. And it came time for me I needed to add to my team. So I didn't even think that she would be interested in coming over to Pasco at first because she was so happy. You know, she's happy in her career. And when I mentioned I was looking for somebody, she said, well, what about me? And I went, really? So it was one of those things that it went full cycle, right? I mentored her. I knew her abilities. I knew her drive. I knew her passion. There may have been a few things that, you know, she might have been a little green in, but my big thing is you can't change a person. A person has that drive. They have the motivation. They have the desire to succeed and the same mindset. So I knew it would be a success no matter which way I looked at it. So I brought her on, and now it's just, we're going gangbusters and we're changing Pasco one day at a time. So the power of that, I can't say enough about the mentorship. And when you talk about working with the universities, the college outreach program, that is just as special. We have a very special relationship with not only Chapman, but UCI, Cal State Fullerton, all the local universities, and our scholarship program where we offer a scholarship to the local students of a university. Every year we award one of them. And Craig, thanks to you, we're able to do that with your generous donations through CLIC. So it's great. Everybody knows us. Our events are getting bigger. Our membership is growing because they see the value of Crew.
Terrific. Nicole?
Yeah, so I'm going to add a tagline here: commercial real estate, you think you know, but you have no idea. And what I mean by that is once you get involved in a group like Crew, and as Linda said, you meet people from all of these different backgrounds, the career paths you think you might have had before all of a sudden expand 100-fold, 1,000-fold, because you never knew that this line of career actually existed until you meet somebody who does it. And then, you know, ultimately become a mentor or a mentee and, you know, mentor your way through the challenges of going through commercial real estate. And that's what I find most fascinating about Crew. And, you know, for a while, I think the fact that affordable housing is included in commercial real estate was something not many people knew. If you don't know, now you do. That is, you know, a career path that you can take within the commercial real estate industry. And then the other side to it is what Stacey mentioned. It's a little bit like Cheers. You want to go where everybody knows your name. And when you're going to another conference where you may think you don't know anybody, you walk in the room and all of a sudden you have 4, 5, 6, 20 friendly faces that, you know, you may not have known that were going to be there. But on that note, we also have this robust message center, a forum we call Crew Biz. And Crew Biz is hosted by Crew Network. And what you can do is you can go in there, you can talk deals, you can look for brokers, maybe in a different part of the country. You can look for what other chapters are doing in terms of philanthropy, but you can also say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to CLIC. Is anybody else attending? We should get together for dinner. We should have drinks. We should have lunch. And so all of a sudden this, you know, this group forms of people that might be headed in the same direction and interested in the same things. And, you know, you can really get your business growing that way as well.
Absolutely. I think the networking within the organization is just outstanding. And, you know, it started with Stacy and I in a chance meeting at a conference. And to my hotel community out there, if you're not part of Crew Orange County or Crew in your county, you should be. This is a tremendous resource, not only for you and your company, but for your associates and team members. And like Linda stated earlier, it's construction, it's attorneys, it's accountants, it's professional services of all types. And, whether it's management or someone like a partner engineering that does a phase one and a lot of the other third party reports, everybody's involved. And you can just find this wealth of talent that can help you with your field of endeavor. So I really encourage everybody to join. So I want to touch on something else with Crew with you guys. Why is it so important to form a group within a group? Is that just because you've got the speciality for hospitality, office? Please, and Nicole, let's start with you as being the current president, please.
I think
we'll go down to Linda and then end with Stacy.
What's most important about forming a group within a group is, and I feel like I keep providing these nuggets, so my apologies and you're welcome at the same time, but you don't know what you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it, right? And
yeah.
I think that's what's most important about these groups that we form within your own industry. Is that you can see what other people are doing, you can like it, you can hate it, but at least you know. Whereas if you weren't doing that, you're guessing, and guessing doesn't really get us anywhere. And not everybody stays in one place for too long anymore, right? People are constantly on the move as far as companies or career paths. And so when you built up your own network within your industry, now you've got other options that, in case you decide you want to move on. And of course, we're going through, if you haven't seen the articles, I highly recommend you read it, The Great Resignation, right, of the fall of 2021. And there's a lot of moving happening. And it's important to keep your mind on what it is that you want to do. And then as an employer, what are you doing to keep your employees happy? I'm lucky. Hillman Consulting is an incredible employer. And, they've been very great to me. So I have no complaints on that front. But certainly employers definitely want to look at what you're offering. And is it appropriate for this new future that we've kind of been forced into, but are welcoming?
Yeah. Linda?
So I think it's critical to develop relationships, period. And you can't do that on a large level more intimately. You need smaller groups to develop a more intimate relationship. And who do you do business with? You do business with who you trust. And so I think that is critical to do that, because how are you going to become an Orange County power player like Stacy or Nicole or Craig unless you can form more intimate, close relationships? And even at that, how are you going to meet the other power players like the Lucy Dunns or the Eric Paulson? Lucy Dunns over Orange County Business Journal. Eric Paulson's, managing director at Kidder. Isn't he at Kidder now? And or even like an Alex Hayden with CBRE, just these amazing power players. So we even have a event that we call Spire, Superior Performance in Real Estate, coming up. And so one of the gals was like, oh, our number one person that we want to ask is Annette Walker, who is the CEO of the City of Hope. And I said, just in passing, the Spire chair mentioned that. And I said, oh, okay, I know her. She just did a class with me. I taught at Chapman University. I said, let me send her an email and I'll CC you in it. And now Annette is going to be our keynote speaker for our Superior Performance in Real Estate Awards. And it's all because you make these smaller, more intimate, close relationships so you can ask them to speak at your class and then speak at a big conference, and that's what's important, is becoming connected with these people in a more intimate, smaller setting.
I agree. And I'll add to that too. I use my past to develop my future is kind of what I always say, because my past is what's made me who I am today. And my connections of my past is what got me to where I'm at today. So like Craig, we talk about the hospitality sector. I had a lot of friends when I worked in hospitality for Hyatt hotels, and I still am friends with them today. So that I've used them as my outreach. And then I've also utilized you and all of your connections on the hospitality front. So I have my go-to group when it comes to hospitality. when it comes to commercial real estate, I don't just interact with those in commercial real estate. I interact with others in other organizations and industries as well to better myself in my own industry. Being in the marketing role, you don't want to do what everyone's always doing in the same industry. You want to get outside perspectives. So I associate myself with people, let's say, in the biking industry, youth sports. I'm a big proponent for youth sports, and I sit on various boards for that. But in those organizations, you're finding people that are like-minded, that want to do the same thing or in the same field. You just never knew you'd meet them in that particular field. So a while ago, speaking of small groups within a group, I developed a small marketing group that meets. We try to meet monthly to have a lunch or a happy hour. And we basically explore ideas on what's hot in marketing, any trends that go across. And there's usually 5 of us that meet, small group, but we're in different sectors, right? Some of us are in tenant representation, some retail, multifamily. We talk about what organizations, what conferences to attend. Sometimes we make sure that people are being honest with us. It's a check, right? It's like, well, what did they tell you? What contract were you signing? And what are you getting for that? Is it the same as what they told me? So it's actually just a trusting group. And I'm also part of a pickleball group. I expand it. Like, it's not just talking about real estate. You can make it fun. And out of fun comes these connections, comes deals. And people don't realize that it doesn't always have to be about work. The biggest deals happen when you least expect them. You know, I have done a deal at the baseball fields. You know, I get sponsors from commercial real estate to sponsor Little League. So to me, it's not just, don't be so closed-minded to just your role. My biggest thing that I tell people all the time is think beyond your desk. Don't just do what you do day to day. You have to think big picture, and you will grow exponentially in not only your own field, but your organization will benefit from it, because wherever I go, I talk about crew. It's in my blood. It is embedded in my blood. I mean, I think I just got 2 people to join the Min crew because they live in Minnesota. And I said, you need to belong. So once it's part of your life, it will be part of your life for the rest of, your career and beyond that.
Absolutely. I love it. Nicole, since we're talking about the Spire Award, would you be so kind as to tell the audience about the 2021 Spire Award, please?
Yes. So one thing I do want to mention that we have changed about Spire Awards this year, and we're so grateful to have Linda as our liaison from the board, our previous boards, of course, still hanging out and helping us with Spire on the committee. She's doing incredible work. And of course, Dana Neville, who Stacy mentioned earlier with Pasco, and Anita Chen with Nuveen. They are our rock stars really putting this together. And we decided to move Spire to every other year. So rather than having it every year, and what we do is we ask for nominations on important deals that happen in Orange County commercial real estate, big projects, philanthropy, you name it. There's a list on our website. So feel free to take a look, everybody look it up, but nominate people that you think are just giants in our industry that are doing great things, because we want to recognize them. And that's what Spire is all about, is recognizing superior performance in real estate every year. Now it's going to be every other year. And what that really allows us to do is make it a bigger and better event where we have 2 full years to plan it. It's going to be probably the commercial real estate event to be at. And I say probably because we haven't changed it to every other year, but it's going to be incredible. We always have well over 300 attendees. I think that's only going to get bigger. And so this year it's on October 15th, which is Friday. It's just after CLIC. And we're really looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Just my own personal preference. The JW Marriott, the Anaheim Resort. Had to get that in. I'm sorry. Hey, let's hear about your philanthropic endeavors at Crew. Okay, we've got the scholarship program. You've got a few other things that you're doing as well. So let's start with Nicole, and then Linda and Stacy can comment on that.
Yes. Crew Orange County historically supports 2 very important foundations here in Orange County. One being Wise Place, which is a homeless transitional shelter for unaccompanied women, who's currently looking to build permanent supportive housing, which is fantastic. And we're happy to support them in their missions and their programs every single year with our summer soiree, which just happened in August. We also support Chrysalis, who is another group very important in supporting homeless and job seekers here in Orange County. And then this year, we brought back our golf tournament, and our recipient of our philanthropic funds and our golf tournament, which is a little bit over about $28,000 is what we donated to them, was Building Block Foundation Fund, which if you're familiar with the commercial real estate industry, I'm sure you've heard that term. Typically, they host a white party every year. And this year, of course, because of COVID, that wasn't possible. So they helped us out with our golf tournament. And in turn, we were able to make a sizable donation to them for that. So we're planning on continuing that. We're in the works of planning next year's event as well. And then I'll let the other two talk about some of our smaller events, but we are constantly looking for ways to support other groups here in Orange County.
Well, I would say that it's not even so much that we have a lot of philanthropic entities that we support, but I think what's even more embedded in our Crew Orange County culture is we've been so blessed, we should give. And so you'll find even a lot of our crew members out of their own pocket will write a check and just, write it, not even their company, their own pocket, and write a check for whatever crew needs. And it's been a fantastic experience. And you're so blown away by people's generosity. Or even when we call to have their company do it, they're like, yep, I'm going to talk to my boss. We absolutely need to do this. It's just amazing. And so we had started the philanthropic chair, I think, was it Stacy or was it me? But it was Stacy and I talked about it. Like there's so many Orange County people that are just so philanthropic, and they want to share, they want to give. And we kind of implemented it, just trying it with zero budget, by the way. We had already had our scholarship that we supported, but we started our philanthropic chair so we could explore more avenues. And it's kind of, taken a life of its own. But I think it's beautiful because when you're a giver, you receive, and maybe not in the same way, but you still receive. And so I feel like that's the heart of our organization. We try to give to philanthropic endeavors, but even more than that, to each other, to build each other up, to lift each other up, to make sure that our membership feels like we are there to be set apart and different than other organizations, because we want to make sure our membership feels like they have an avenue to give, whether it's of their time, talents, or money, and that they're important and they count. And so that what I feel like what's even more important than even the places we give to.
I agree.
Right.
And they covered a lot of it, but I think the one piece that we also contribute to is the Crew Foundation directly. The Crew Foundation, that's what supports these young women who are aspiring to be in commercial real estate and advance their careers. So by giving to the foundation, it not only advances the research efforts that Crew does in commercial real estate, it advances the lives of these young women in commercial real estate. So we offer, Nicole, you might be able to correct me, how many does Crew Network as a whole give each year at the annual convention?
I believe this year it is 25 scholarships that they're offering this year. It could be more. I apologize, I don't have that in front of me, but I know it's at least that amount.
So 25, and that's, I think, usually it's about 5,000 per student. And I think over the years, we're coming up probably at $500,000 or even more than that they've given over the years to these young women. So the Crew Foundation is probably one of the staples that Crew Network supports. And then again, our local charities, but even beyond the ones that they mentioned with Wise Place, Chrysalis, and Building Blocks, what happens is people start getting passionate about other charities that other crew members are a part of, and then they start donating on behalf of those. So the power of Crew is just, you can't even put it into words. It's just something that when you belong, you branch out. It's like a tree. You start doing things that you never thought you would do with this organization. So I think the support and the motivation and I'd say just the the belief that everyone has in each other in this organization is what's great and why people join Crew.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with all of you. I mean, it's just so nice to hear it from the current and past presidents of everything that, Crew Orange County's been able to accomplish and participate in. Now, this is going to be our last question. Probably a little bit of a touchy subject, but we've got a secession going right now. We've lost over 800,000 women out of the commercial real estate and workspaces across the country last year alone. I think that number's up over 1 million now. How do we help and get people back into commercial real estate since we're all in that field?
What's so funny is actually the three of us were on a panel discussing this exact thing at almost this time last year. And so here we are a year later and we're still talking about it, which means it's still such a relevant subject that we need to have this discussion. And one of the things we all brought up that I think is so important is throwing away your traditional idea of what a mentor and a mentee relationship looks like, because it's going to change. So you might have somebody now who's going to be out of the workforce for the next 5 or 10 years, right? And so we have some, for example, emerging leaders who are below 35 coming up in the industry. In the next 10 years, where are they going to be? Well, they could very well find themselves in a position to be a mentor to somebody who is maybe much older than them, trying to make their way back into commercial real estate. And so traditional ideas, defining these relationships are going to need to go. And we're really going to need to support groups like Crew, right? We are so important in this endeavor because that's where they're going to find their next space. And that's where they're going to find their safe place to be able to network and talk about these discussions without prejudice. And so we're happy to be a group that's going to be supporting that in the next, decade.
Well, I will say I was part of the Great Resignation. I wrote an article about the Great Resignation, and I had been in my corporate real estate officer job at Chapman, and so everything hit at once. And we had medical buildings, so I became an essential worker as well, because we had medical buildings we had to maintain. And so, medical facilities had to stay open.
Right.
But you're kind of burning the candle. You have your kids, you have your job. I mean, I just felt like I was working at all times. And, my husband will agree. He's now since changed, but I used to take on the load of domestic chores and the kids. And so that had to all go out the window. And I think it's great that we're discussing it, because we as women have what I call the motherhood tax. And I'm not the originator of that. I'm not sure who is, but we are penalized because we are the ones that are going to take time off to be with the sick kids. We're going to be the ones that, do something for the family. And it's, there's articles and articles and articles on this. And so I think, it's time that employers and the government look at, okay, this is not going to work anymore. Women already have a pay parity, and we do a pay parity study every year with Crew Network. Right. But then on top of that, we also have the motherhood tax. And so I felt very burnt out. Chapman was very flexible, but my kids are having problems during the pandemic. They're home and they're 13 and 15 at the time, but having to teach themselves online at 13 and 15, there's no support because there's nobody here. And, I'm getting calls. And so I feel guilty about not being enough for work. I feel guilty about not being enough for home, being not enough for my husband because he's stressed out too. He was an essential worker. And so something has to give with the way that we have our current system. And I'm glad that we're talking about it. I'm glad it's controversial, and I'm glad it's on the forefront of everybody's minds.
I agree. In addition to the movement we've seen with women, I've almost seen equal movement for men, whether it's leaving the force or moving jobs. But for women, I think the biggest thing is we need to work together to form that flexibility and encourage employers to offer that flexibility. Right now we're sitting with 3 days in office, 2 days at home, and it's flexible. One day we're all there to have that camaraderie with everybody and feel the energy of the entire office. So every Monday we go in and we're together, but then the other 2 days you're there, it's up to you. So as long as employers can offer that flexibility, I think you're going to be able to keep more of the women in the workforce, and you're going to be a more attractive employer to these women. Make sure your benefit packages are great. What extra can you offer that these women are going to want? What is it? And actually do studies, do surveys. And I'm sure there are research papers out there that have what women want. Isn't that a movie? What movie? They need to look at that. They need to really dive in. And I'm a big proponent for surveys and actually doing one-on-one discussions to find out what people want. You can't have somebody sitting in a seat going, oh, well, they'll probably want this, so let's just implement it. You can't work life that way. You have to really do your homework. And, I had 2 women leave my company that worked with me during COVID. One had twins. She's now a stay-at-home mom. How do you go back to the workforce with that? With daycare the way it was. And then another one decided that she also wanted to homeschool her children, and she wanted to kind of start her own little small business. Well, yeah. That's great. And more power to them. I'm a big proponent of people and women, advancing their careers, being entrepreneurs. I am so proud of Linda for what she did. And she's going to kill it in whatever she does. Every woman should have that confidence. And, right. I don't know. I just think we all need to kind of work together. And as Nicole mentioned, the mentoring is just as important, whether you are 40 years old mentoring a 25-year-old, or you're a 25-year-old mentoring a 40-year-old. It goes both ways. People need to get over the age stigma and just look at what experience and who do they know, right? It boils down to who do you know and how can you get me in?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with all of you more. And, one other thing that needs to change is the political scene. New York's got its first female governor in its history, 256 years. I think there's been maybe 20 female governors. That number needs to change. It's CREW is about leadership and health. Those are the first 2 things that pop into my mind. The third one is community, and the community that's built within CREW is just amazing. And there's nothing else like it. So I thank you all for being part of the conversation today. This was just an incredible time. We have run out of time, so we're going to have you all back again. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate all of you for spending this time with us and with CREW. Love that mug.
I had to show it off.
That is the official CLIC mug that we have launched. Right now, Stacy is one of 45 people that's got one, and we are going to be selling those in our entire Black Series line for CLIC. All profits go to help support our scholarship donations with CREW Orange County, with the Asian American Hotel Owners Association, with CLIA, another trade organization here in California, and with CH in LA, another hotel trade organization here in California. So the theme is California. So what can I say? But thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. And now I'd like to bring in a new guest. And this is someone very special to me, and we're going to have an announcement. So Miss Kate Berta from the Lone Star State is joining us today. Kate, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm trying to get my camera right here, but man, did I ever enjoy that conversation? What impressive.
I'm so glad you were able to join us for that. And really, the big news is Kate and I are teaming up. We're going to co-host another roundtable. Then this one's going to be focused on hospitality. So, Kate, please tell the audience, what they're going to be in store for.
Well, it's really interesting because I think now more than ever, people are really looking for insights, hindsights, and foresights of tell me what's working somewhere else. And even in
Right.
the conversation we had here, so much of that thinking is applicable across industries. And so I hope that I think my goal in this journey with you is to bring some of those conversations to a how do we bring some of that outside thinking in
Right.
so we can kind of rise above the sea of sameness.
Absolutely. You've known me for a little while. I always think outside the box. I wasn't one that ever colored it within the lines, so that's just me, but it's worked. So, this is going to be exciting. We're bringing various disciplines within the hotel community together for a 60-minute roundtable, and we'll be making some more announcements on that shortly. But I wanted to thank Kate for being here today, and I really am looking forward to working with you on the next set of roundtables, Kate. Thank you very much.
I'm honored. Thank you, Craig.
I'd also like to thank today's sponsor, and that is our good friend Bruce Ford at Lodging Econometrics. If you're looking for construction data and information in the hotel sector, whether it's California, the nation, or the world, please reach out to our good friend Bruce Ford at Lodging Econometrics, and they'll be glad to help you. I'd like to thank our guests again for joining us today. This is quite a time commitment for them, but you guys get some great information. And thank you, our audience, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And as I'd like to say on CLIC Connect, be kind, share your knowledge. Now go be amazing.